allegiance. If you would please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, board members and members of the audience. We have an agenda before us, and I seek a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the agenda as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We now have an agenda. The first item on the agenda is a closed session. I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss the personnel matters. We have 2 employee matters, and this is authorized by Section 2.23711A1 of the Virginia Code.
So moved.
Any discussion on the closed session? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're now in closed session. I need a motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
We're now back in open session. I need a motion to certify that closed session was discussed in accordance with the enabling motion and also in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as stated in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Albritton?
Aye.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Ivers?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes. We have one motion out of closed session.
Yes, I move to authorize the chair to sign the settlement agreement with employee A.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Albritton?
Aye.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
No.
Mr. Ivers?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes. And that concludes all the motions out of closed session. The next item on our agenda is honors, awards, and recognition, and we have a significant number of them this evening. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent, Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'm going to ask Dr. Lois Graham if she would come and preside during the recognition portion of the agenda this evening.
We will begin our honors and awards and recognitions program with Mrs. Weaver introducing the Seniors of the Month program for us.
Good evening. Today I'd like to recognize 3 Seniors of the Month. We'll have someone representing Auburn High School, Blacksburg High School, and Christiansburg High School. Eastern Montgomery will be attending our next meeting. You'll notice that the seniors this month have a wide range of activities, and I hope that you all have an opportunity to check out the displays in the foyer to see all their wonderful accomplishments. So I'd like to begin this evening with Mr. Carl Pauley.
Thank you, Ms. Weaver. Members of the board, Ms. Blackburn, Mr. Jones. It is with great pride that I introduce you to Auburn High School's December Senior of the Month, Marissa Perry. Marissa is an exceptional student and a born leader. Whether she is part of a club, student government, or athletic team, Marissa naturally rises to a leadership position. She is also a poised and articulate public speaker. She has represented her school and community well in speaking to rising freshmen at their 8th grade promotion ceremonies and at our new school's dedication ceremony. It has been a true pleasure to observe this once 9th grade girl progress through high school with such distinction and mature into the young woman who is being recognized here tonight. Marissa is accompanied this evening by her mother, Marcella Perry, and her brother, Tristan, if they would come forward at this time to be recognized.
Good evening. It is with great pride that I introduce you to Blacksburg High School's December Senior of the Month, Mr. Jacob Reynolds. Jacob is accompanied tonight by Mark and Angie Jackson. Would you all please come forward? This is a quote from Amy Stevens, the senior class sponsor and social studies teacher at Blacksburg High. The Social Studies Department has nominated Jacob as Blacksburg High School's Senior of the Month for the month of December. Jacob is a wonderful student, classmate, friend, and the president of our senior class. Jacob's classmates are always boasting about his enthusiasm and his loyalty, as are his friends. His teachers enjoy having him in class to add character, intelligence, and charisma to the classroom environment. His other class officers enjoy having his leadership and his ability to make any situation a positive one. Jacob is very well-rounded and a very thoughtful individual who truly makes Blacksburg High School a better place to be. Congratulations, Jacob.
Good evening, members of the board, Ms. Blackburn. It is with great pride that I introduce to you Christiansburg High School's December Senior of the Month, Catherine Harrison. Catherine was selected for this honor to recognize her high level of academic achievement and her involvement in a large number of school and community activities. Catherine started her senior year with a 4.12 GPA and is ranked in the top 10 of her class. She has excelled in extracurricular activities where she was selected as the captain for the 2013 volleyball team and received all district honors as a member of our tennis team. Her participation in co-curricular clubs and organizations is too long to list here, but it can be easily said that Catherine thrives in leadership roles and has a penchant for serving others. As a senior class officer, Catherine was a key player in rebuilding a depleted student cheering section for the 2013 Blue Demon football team, and her efforts were rewarded with a large number of her peers showing up every week dressed in accordance with the theme that she helped coordinate. She is a pleasant person, excellent student, and formidable leader. There are truly no limits to what she's likely to accomplish when she is unleashed on the world in a few months. We are extremely proud to have her as a student at Christiansburg High School. Catherine is accompanied this evening by her mom, Susan, her dad, Bruce, and her sister, Avery. Will you please come forward at this time to be recognized?
Ms. Weaver will come forward again to introduce our next award, which is the Blacksburg High School Girls Cross Country State Champions.
We are proud to have two state championship teams before you this evening. The first is the Blacksburg High School Girls Cross Country State Championship. And I'd like to welcome, the team is here, and also Coach DeMarco.
Mrs. Blackburn and the members of the school board, it's my honor tonight to introduce you to our girls cross country team. Not only are they very fast runners, they also have a combined GPA between the 7 girls of a 4.03 GPA in the classroom is the team average for them. We had a team of about 65 kids this season. These 7 represented Blacksburg at the state championship, which they won with 34 points. To my far right is Samantha Marin, only a freshman, and she was all-state honors this season. To her left, also a freshman, was Annie K. Combs, who just missed all-state honors by 2 places. To her left is Emily Beatty. Emily's a junior and was 3rd place this season, missing 2nd place by a foot, literally. To her left is Bonnie Engermeyer. Bonnie was our state champion this season for Blacksburg and led the way at the state meet, winning by 11 seconds. To her left is Jen Fleming. Jen's also a junior and had a terrific season this season, also earning all-state honors. And to her left is Olivia Hodge. Olivia, in her sophomore year, freshman year, she had a big injury and just stuck with it. Her foot grew from an 8.5 to 10.5 and had some adjustments to make with that. And she just every day came to practice, even though she couldn't run with the team. She got on the bikes and really worked hard. And this year, she missed all-state honors by 3 places and just had a terrific season. And it's so nice to see all her hard work pay off. To her left is Claire. Claire is ranked number 1 in her class academically at Blacksburg and also is our lone senior on the team and was our team leader. She also earned all-state honors this year also. And to her left is my assistant coach. This is Marcia Barrow, and Marcia's been with me for the last 9 years at Blacksburg, and it's an integral part of our success at the team. So it's my honor to introduce you to these fine young ladies, and we thank you so much.
Well, Coach, you won a race also.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that.
I just ran in the local drumstick dash. That's a great fundraiser in Roanoke, and my wife actually beat me, and she won. She was 3rd overall in the overall females. I was actually trying to stay with her, and she dropped me in the last mile, but I did win the Masters division. So,
Well, congratulations to you also.
Rick Weaver is our Supervisor of Career and Technical Education, and he will introduce the next state championship award.
I'm here this evening to ask the board to recognize the Reiner FFA Hippology team. This team won 1st place at the state level, and then they went to a national competition in Ohio where they placed 2nd as a team and had an individual place 8th overall. This team is made up of Mrs. Kim Huffman, the teacher and FFA sponsor, who is unable to be with us this evening, and the following students: Timothy Bell, Krista Frazier, and Hannah Bartnick are all 2013 graduates of Auburn High School and also were unable to attend. But representing the team tonight will be Miss Paige Altizer. If you come forward, please, Paige. Paige is the individual who placed 8th at the national level, and she is a current senior at Auburn High School and hopes to pursue her interest in horses and science at Virginia Tech next year. Paige.
Ms. Weaver, our Director of Secondary Education, will introduce the next award, which is the Auburn High School Volleyball State Champions.
We're pleased tonight to recognize Auburn High School for being state champions in volleyball, and coming to introduce them will be Paul Dominy, the athletic director at Auburn High School.
Come on up, ladies. Good evening. I cannot tell you how excited I am to present this group of girls to you tonight. As a matter of fact, I've had trouble sleeping at night. I've been so excited. Even with warm milk and cookies, I haven't been able to get to sleep. And while you may think that makes me some type of lactose intolerant insomniac, the truth is This is a special occasion, and I've been looking forward to it. Auburn Volleyball, under Coach Sherry Milirons, has been recognized as a very strong program for a number of years, and last year won Auburn's first state championship in any girls' sport in the history of the school. Many of the players on that team graduated, and a new group faced the challenge of defending that title this year. This team finished the regular season with a record of 20 wins and 2 losses, largely playing schools in the 2A to 5A classifications, despite Auburn's 1A school size. This team won the district championship during the regular season, but that was just the starting point for what makes this group special. They began the playoffs by romping through the Western Gate Conference tournament, defeating Bland County, Bath County, and Radford all by 3-0 scores. They then defeated Chilhowie, Rye Cove, and Galax to win the 1A West Regional Tournament. The state Final Four saw them raise their game to another level entirely. These girls rained down so many spikes from so many angles and so many places that they overwhelmed their opponents with, as the saying goes, shock and awe. They destroyed Northumberland in 3 quick games in the semifinal and demolished Alta Vista in 3 more in the championship match. Through the entire playoffs, they dropped just 1 game, finishing with a game record of 24-1, playing against the best competition that 1A could put against them. So that's the reason that I take such great pleasure in introducing the Auburn volleyball team and each of these young ladies to you individually for recognition. Amber Sowers, Corey Altizer, second team all-conference, Kayla Oliver, Megan Epperly, Laura Vaughn, second team all-conference Marissa Perry, whom you've already met, Katie Sailors, Madison Shoemaker, who was first team all-conference and first team all-region, Paige Altizer, who again you've already met, second team all-conference Carrie Music, conference player of the year and regional player of the year Brooke Bostwick, Andrea Tiller, team manager Taylor Helms, and conference coach of the year and region coach of the year head coach Sherry Milirons.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If Ms. Rhonda Baker, our Supervisor of Literacy Programs, will come forward, she will introduce our next award, which is Virginia Society of Technology for Education Teacher of the Year.
Each year, the Virginia Society for Technology and Education recognizes exemplary educators through several different awards. The 2013 VSTE Teacher of the Year is Wendy Phillips, a literacy specialist at Bellevue Elementary School, who also serves as an adjunct professor in literacy education at Radford University. Wendy has been the recipient of many grants, most recently securing the iRead grant from the Community Foundation of the New River Valley, which awarded her iPads and iPods to integrate into her teaching to enhance learning in and out of the classroom. Wendy was recently recognized at the annual Educational Technology Conference in Roanoke. Congratulations, Wendy.
And at this time, our board chairman, Mr. Wendell Jones, will honor us with board recognitions.
I'm not sure how this is going to work. Thank you. At this time, I have the distinct honor to recognize 2 board members that are concluding their service on the Montgomery County School Board. And it is quite an honor to be able to do this. And the first person I would like to call down to the podium is Dreama Foster. Ms. Foster. In keeping with tradition and what we do, at this time, I'm going to ask board members if you would like to offer just a couple of thoughts about your working relationship with Ms. Foster at this time, if you would please, and I'll conclude. Who wants to go first? Phyllis.
Yeah, I really appreciate Dreama because I like to talk with different board members about the issues, and I could always get through and talk with you, and we shared so much of our thoughts and tended to come to agreements. And I think it's great that, you know, from all over the county, I mean, you represented one section, I represent another, and I really appreciated our time working together, and I consider you a dear friend.
I'd like to say that Dreama was a rock on this board. I always had my opinion, which I wasn't always sure about, and Dreama would give her point of view, and I'd have to stop and really think hard about what she said, because it made a lot more sense in the way I was going. And again, I would say that she was a rock on this board.
Well, I have been thinking for weeks and weeks and weeks what I would say, except I'm going to really miss you. You came to this board day one and took off and understood that you were representing children in Montgomery County and staying focused on that and not falling into some of the little pitfalls that can happen when you're in these roles, and making sure when you were making decisions, you were making it in the best interests of children, not only in your district, but for all of Montgomery County, and helping the rest of us to understand we need to stay focused on that too. So I really appreciate you, as Joe said, helping to keep this board grounded in what our job is. And I just can't tell you how much I'm going to miss you.
Amen.
Dreama, you know that David Duckenberger was definitely a true friend of mine, and I hated it when he decided not to run again. But I could not have asked for somebody else to be better that would have replaced him with his seat, or I, at the time, consider his seat. And I agree and concur. Your heart was genuine at all times for whatever was in the best interest of the student, even if it wasn't what all we agreed on. And you definitely became a friend, and hopefully will continue to be so. We'll contact you later. Thank you for everything you've done.
And finally, folks, the way I look at what Dreama's service to the board is kind of like E.F. Hutton. Okay? She didn't say a whole lot. She was very quiet. But when she spoke up in the boardroom, or when she spoke at this dais, people listened. And when you need an advocate for your child, and when you need an advocate for education, we've got a good one here in Dreama. Thank you so much for your service. Congratulations for it. And here's a plaque. Here's a little token from the school board for your service. Thank you very much.
Since I'm not a person of many words, as you all know, and I know Miss Albritton will be here for at least a good 20, 30 minutes, I would just like to take this time to thank everyone on the board, also the administration. I don't know where we would be without the administration that we have. Ms. Blackburn has just been totally amazing. My first few months on the board were unbelievable. When I came, there was no board clerk, there was no superintendent, and guess what happened? The gym roof collapsed at Blacksburg High School. So needless to say, I was initiated quite quickly. It has been an amazing experience. You know, I thank the voters in District C for allowing me to have this opportunity. It's been amazing. Anyone who ever thinks there's a problem with the school system should serve at least one term on the school board. You will learn very quickly how difficult it can be to try to make those decisions. But this board has taught me a lot, and you know, I think we have a great administration, and this school system will succeed. Mr. Lyons will do a great job. We've already met, and I think I'm leaving my seat in real good hands. So thank you all very much.
Phyllis, come on down.
The water's good, isn't it?
We definitely want to thank you for your service, and at this point, I'm going to open it up to the rest of the board members to offer their comments to you.
I'll go first on this one. I moved to Montgomery County, specifically Blacksburg, 7 years ago, give or take a few months, and joined a church, and right away, I got a phone call. It was from Phyllis. I had no idea who she was, but she called and she says, "Welcome to the county, welcome to Blacksburg, welcome to the church, come on over for dinner." Now, we've been on the board together for a long time, and Phyllis drives me crazy. We have many conversations, and those conversations, I think, well, okay, that was really great. And then we come in here, and I'm thinking, didn't we have a conversation about that? What happened? It's wonderful. She leads with her heart. She's always led with her heart. And I think that's a great tribute. I'm not, personally, I'm too hands-on, and I want to get this job done. And Phyllis is the type of person who really wants to think through it and make sure that her heart is in the right place.
I'll do it. Well, Phyllis, you know, I always think, as Joe said, that you think from your heart. Everything's about your heart. And I always tell my family, you know, different things about people on the board, and I always say, Phyllis wants to save the world. She thinks world peace is going to happen any day now. Phyllis is about world peace. So when my son come in this afternoon, he was looking around and he was trying to picture who Phyllis was. And immediately he found Phyllis in the group of all the people out there and said, that must be Phyllis. So not only do you bring it to this room, but people can see it just out in the public. They can see that you're all about our children and trying to do what's right for everyone. And you know what? We've been on the opposite sides of the votes a lot of times, but we could negotiate. And you always had your heart first, and the kids always came first. So I appreciate that.
Well, Phyllis, you know, you and I tend to always be on the opposite ends of the spectrum. But I agree and concur, you have the largest heart. Mm-hmm. And we always, no matter whether we disagreed, especially the first time you said Montgomery City, I was like, Montgomery City? You're kidding me, right? But we always left with a hug and a smile, and that's the way things are supposed to be. And, you know, boards, every person that sits on a board brings a different viewpoint, and that's how we touch every different walk of life there is. So I appreciate you for everything you've done, and you just keep doing all the special things you do.
Well, Phyllis and I have known each other for a long time. And when she was, I guess, going through the application process, when we had to interview, and she called me and asked about, you know, should I run, you know, should I apply or whatever? And I was like, yeah, it's an opportunity for us to work together. I had never worked with Phyllis. It was a new experience. As Joe said, she thinks and thinks and thinks, and I'm more like, okay, I got the information, I'm ready to go. And Phyllis is still going and going. But with that process, also at times will have said things to make me rethink, you know, oh, didn't quite think about it that way. And I will miss your spirit of compassion for those in our district and our county who are less fortunate, and making sure that they are counted and that their needs are being met, and that every child should be reading at grade level by third grade, right? So I will miss you, but we were friends before you got here, and I know we'll see each other after you're gone. So thank you.
I get to finish, don't I? Well, Joe said it right. She drives you crazy. Thank God for caller ID. That's all I as chair, they're supposed to call the chair if they have a question. So, again, thank God for caller ID. But I will say this, parents, students in the audience, you will not find a better advocate for your child than this lady right here. We need more Phyllis Albritons in this world. Thank you for your service.
I really don't know what to say. I've been very moved by each one of your comments. I love you all. It's been a wonderful journey, and it's not over. I really, from the minute I came to this county, I was a county person because I worked with the Montgomery County Council of PTAs. So I've always felt a part of Montgomery County and its school system. And I am really, really, really proud of our board members, all the challenges we've been through, and we've made it for all of the county, and we're continuing to do it for all of the county. Christiansburg, here we go. And the administration, I can't thank you enough. Speaking of telephone calls, you have answered my calls. And you have been there for us over and over. Brenda, all of you have just been very special. I've loved visiting the schools. I've loved attending athletic programs. I've loved attending the theater programs, the music programs, the art exhibits. We have a very wonderful system, and I do believe we are really working hard to reach all of our children so that they may be reading at grade level at 3rd grade, so they don't end up in prison. And I really call on all of us to do all we can to keep the money coming into this county for our public schools, because it's the public schools that make a difference for all of the children. And I thank each and every one of you for doing that for all of the children. Amen.
At this time, we'll take a 10-minute break to allow the board and the audience time to congratulate all those that were recognized tonight.
Agenda is public address. This is where the board sets aside 30 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per citizen to address the board on items of educational interest. We will have a timer up on the screen, correct, for the 3 minutes. And it is the practice of this board not to respond to those who do speak at public address, even though those items may come up under new business at this meeting or at a future meeting. We do have 2 people who have signed up for public address. I will call those names out, and I ask you to step forward to the podium and state your name and their address. And the first one is Glennis Martin.
Good evening. My name is Glennis Martin. I'm a resident of Christiansburg, 305 Hickok Street.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Blackburn and members of the board. As I stated, my name is Glennis Martin, and I'd like to thank you for allowing me to appear before you tonight. My reason for being here is to address the issue of substitutes without a 4-year degree or working toward a degree no longer being allowed to sub for instructional positions, hereafter referred to as teachers. As addressed by the board on December the 3rd, at which time the request for a waiver to policy 5-2.6 was denied. We've done some research, and that has revealed that the State Board of Education only requires a high school diploma. Then, of course, local boards set their own agenda. Also, most of the boards in the surrounding areas do not require a 4-year degree. I would like to cite some of the requirements for substitute teachers set forth in the substitute handbook. Just to give you an idea, I'm sure you have those, but to reiterate this, locate seating charts and be on top of the roll call situation, follow lesson plans in accordance with the teacher's directions, ask questions of appropriate staff regarding meaning, intent, availability, location of resources, or any obstacles to the strict adherence to the teacher's lesson plans. Also be flexible, have supplemental plans in case the teacher's plans don't fill the entire class period. To provide feedback to the teacher regarding the day's activities, positive as well as negative student behavior, and of any unusual events. To leave the classroom and instructional materials in an orderly manner. I've been a substitute in Montgomery County's public schools for 9 years and 8 months, having been hired in April 2004 after retiring in September 2003 with 33 years of federal government service. In this capacity, I have subbed for teachers, including classrooms, special education, and librarians, as well as administrative assistants, and have always been in very high demand. The majority of my jobs have been obtained by special requests from the schools in lieu of random sub-finder calls. I have an exemplary performance record in every school I have subbed in. I have worked very hard to establish a reputation as a good sub and been quite successful in doing so. I have been a preferred sub and have been quite successful. Been a preferred sub in many schools. In fact, I was considered valuable enough to a school that encountered some crisis situations, the loss of students, etc., that I was requested to work the day after the tragic events due to my longtime connection to the school and rapport with the students and staff, in addition to my ability to handle such situations. No one else would have been requested for the job if I had not been able to fill it. That displayed a high level of confidence in me by the school's principal and vice principal. In addition, I've had a standing request from Blacksburg Middle School for several years to sub while they're doing SOL testing, which consists of 11 or 12 days in May, and that's based on my familiarity with the job and my ability to carry on the assigned class activities while the students are out of their normal classroom.
Ms. Martin, your time is up.
Okay. Thank you
very
much. That was a short 3 minutes. Thank you.
The next person signed up is Sharon Purdue.
My name is Sharon Purdue, and I live at 75 Overland Drive, Christiansburg, Virginia. And I am here to address the board. I have been with the county since 1998. I started out as a substitute teacher's aide. Teachers encouraged me to go and get my four-year degree so I could sub as a teacher. I went back and got my two-year degree. The year that I got my two-year degree, Montgomery County changed the policy that you only had to have a two-year degree. I talked with Mr. Pazier in 2010 because you changed it back up to four-year degree or be working on a four-year degree, and he informed me at that time that I would be considered grandfathered in. I have been subbing as a substitute teacher along with Ms. Martin for 10 years as a substitute teacher and an aide. Schools call me directly. I don't use SubFinder. They've called me directly. I think this policy was poorly done because it was enforced after school started instead of before school started. I subbed as a teacher a few days, and then Mr. Michael Andreth called me and said I was not qualified any longer. Schools called me directly, and I had to tell them that I could not be called as a teacher any longer, and they were very upset. They said, well, you've been doing it forever, and I take pride in my children, the education of the kids. Some of the other subs, they just let the kids do anything they want to. They put in movies. They let them use their cell phones during instructional time. And they have four-year degrees. And I don't have a four-year degree, but I think my experience with the school system should give me priority. And I would hope you all would revisit this and change your mind. Thank you.
That concludes all that has signed up for public address. At this time, I'll open it up to those in the audience. If you would like to address the board at this time, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address. Seeing no one, public address is now closed. The next item on the agenda is consent items. I need approval for consent items.
So moved.
I don't need approval, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Do we need to pull anything? to review under consent items?
Hang on, oh, no.
Hearing none, items are approved on consent. Next item is the personnel report. Need a motion to approve the personnel report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the personnel
Yeah.
report as presented?
Yeah. On the personnel report, there was several special education aides that went from 6.5 hours to 7 and so on. What was that all about?
Ms. Gilly is not with us this evening. She is ill, but I believe it had to do with the assignment to the individual students that they were working with required that they have a longer day. They were one-on-one assistance for specific special education students.
Okay, and then there's okay, and that part-time human resources department person, that's not in there. That's another.
No, it's not in there. It has not been advertised,
Okay,
subject to the board's approval.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the personnel report? All those in favor signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We now have a personnel report. Next item on the agenda is payment of the bills. I need a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the bills? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the financial summary report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Financial reports are approved. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's reports, recommendations, and announcements. Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Our first item this evening is a presentation from representatives of each of our high school guidance departments. And they're going to be talking with us a little bit along the theme of striving for college and career-ready graduates. And I'd like to thank our counselors for being with us this evening. And thank you for the great job that you do. As I look back on my career, I think being a guidance counselor was my favorite job. And a lot of people, think sometimes that support personnel perhaps don't have the same impact on students that direct classroom teachers do. But I know from what I hear from our students and what I experience myself that as a guidance counselor, you have great ability to touch the future of the lives of our kids at points when they're making some very critical decisions. And so I welcome you this evening and would ask Ms. Weaver if she would introduce the program.
This evening, we'll be sharing a few examples from each school of the dedicated work our high school guidance departments take in achieving the challenging goal of helping each of our students be college and career ready. I thought I'd start this evening with sharing a few of the highlights from the class of 2013, which I think reflects the hard work of our guidance department in partnership with our parents and students. As you can see, this was a very successful class. One thing that I would like to particularly point out, the AP score, Montgomery County Public Schools was named to the AP Honor Roll, and that's schools that are designated for having more students take the test and also more students continuing to achieve a 3, 4, or 5 on the test. So having more students take the test and continuing to do very well. So we were awarded that designation. You can also see we had a wide variety of national merit finalists and scholars, and 80% of the class of 2013 planned to attend a college. They applied to over 100 institutions, and you can see that staggering scholarship amount. They earned a tremendous amount of money. Mm-hmm. One of the most difficult challenges we face getting students ready for college is to really form that partnership with students and parents to keep them in the loop, because there's so many deadlines with scholarships, with applications. So that's a key piece of the puzzle. So this evening I'd like to welcome Ms. Brenda Peters from Auburn High School, who's going to share with us one strategy for keeping parents and students in the loop.
Good evening, board members, Ms. Blackburn. I'm Brenda Peters. I'm the counselor at Auburn High School, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share with you some ways in which we work with each student in our caseload to try to make sure that they are ready for whatever their plans may be after high school, whether it's college or joining the workforce. As a parent and as an educator, I believe that communication is the key to making students and parents aware of opportunities that are available to help students succeed. Technology allows our parents to monitor their child's academic progress, know when assignments, tests, and projects are due, and to consult teachers with concerns or questions. I use the same technology as a counselor for the 400 students at Auburn High School. I realize that information that I may view as critical may not be on the student's list of important things to do at all. The likelihood of information announced through classes and on the daily announcements ever making it home may be slim. In addition to meeting with every student during the course of the year to discuss updating their course requests, their plans, their goals, in September, I mail home a newsletter to seniors that includes an unofficial copy of their transcript for them to review before it goes to colleges and employers. Throughout the year, I meet with the students concerning their goals, as I said. Each month, I publish a guidance newsletter. In September of each year, I mail the first copy home, and then there are subsequent copies mailed or provided each month. The first one is mailed. The others are included on our website, and if you look, you will see that each of the monthly newsletters is accessible throughout the year to go back for referral. The newsletters beginning in October actually cover opportunities for students in grades 9 through 12. The first one is primarily for seniors. All newsletters remain on the website, as I said, throughout the year. Examples of informational items included are college entrance test dates, locations, registration deadlines, test fees, specifically the SAT and the ACT. I also include links to College Board and the ACT websites, college search process with links to several search engines, information about conducting a college visit, the college applications, the application essay, information that's found on the high school transcript, eligibility for fee waivers so that all of our students have the opportunity to take the college entrance exams, dates for college representatives and military recruiters to visit our school, workshops, seminars, and other opportunities for students to participate in, scholarships with eligibility criteria, the amount of the scholarships, the application deadlines. Scholarships are announced as I receive them because scholarships change from year to year, the award amounts. Not all organizations offer every scholarship every year, and the application deadlines change. I also include tips for preparing for the workforce and opportunities to work with one-on-one with John Cash, who is our career coach from New River Community College. Students and parents also receive the school messenger reminders of information that has already been published. For example, we will have a financial aid workshop in January that has already been announced in our publication. Daily announcements are read over our PA system at the beginning of fourth period every day. This timing allows students who participate in the vocational programs at Christiansburg High School and Governor School students to be back in our building to hear the announcements. We also are fortunate at Auburn High School and our new school to have LED monitors at key locations in our school that scroll information and announcements throughout the day for our students. Thank you.
Are there any time for questions?
Another important part of becoming college and career ready is to help parents and students find opportunities to fund their post-secondary plans. Kyla Dance will explain a variety of opportunities that Christiansburg High School offers to parents and students.
Good evening. My name is Kyla Dance, and I am one of the guidance counselors at Christiansburg High School, so thanks for having us this evening. I want to speak for a moment about some of the programs that we offer in our building in helping students become prepared for the financial cost that comes along with their higher education plans after school. The first opportunity is we hold a college and career night early in the school year, typically in October, and this is an opportunity for all students and their parents to attend. Financial aid with families typically begins before freshman or before their senior year. So we have a variety of sessions that are held during that night, and by far our most popular is the financial aid presentation that's given by a representative from higher ed who works in that field. And he speaks to our students and parents and kind of prepping them. And for some students and parents, this is the first time they're hearing this, and some it's a reminder. And he speaks about scholarship opportunities, the difference between grants and loans, and prepping them for preparing their financial aid forms in January. We make this open to all students and parents by way of school messenger. We also mail a postcard home to all families. We make announcements at our school. We put that information on our guidance website as well as our calendar. And we typically have a very good turnout for that. And like I said, all students want to come to the financial aid presentation that's given. Then in February, we hold a financial aid workshop for senior students and their parents specifically. We do this at the very beginning of February so that families have their W-2 and tax forms in hand. They can actually come to our workshop rather than just hear a presentation and bring their forms with them and physically complete their FAFSA on-site that evening. So we send information out well in advance to parents and students, again, via messenger, a postcard, and announcements. And we also give them the information ahead of time as to what they need to be prepared to bring with them so that they can complete that form. Some want to come and just start from scratch and really don't even have a computer at home and need assistance with that. And others have started the process and run into some roadblocks and they come. So all of our counselors are available that evening to assist in filling out the forms. And we also have members from Radford University, Virginia Tech's, financial aid offices, as well as usually someone from Upward Bound or Talent Search to assist us. Last year we had almost 50 families come over the course of 2 hours to help with that. Or to take advantage of that. Also, we typically will have a few students that we have to work with after the fact who are unable to make it for whatever reason, or they heard it was a great program and they weren't able to take advantage of it. And we will work individually with that student and their forms in our office. And it can be a lengthy and a tricky process, but it's certainly an important one. We also have that evening available what is called our scholarship notebook, and that's our database, our physical database of all scholarships that come our way. So we have in that notebook a sheet on each scholarship detailing the information necessary as deadlines, requirements, eligibility, amounts, and then all of that information is also posted on our website. It's a daily updated Google Doc, so as soon as the information comes in, it's on there the very same day, as opposed to a monthly memo that we've done in the past. And it's actually sorted by the month that the information comes to us. So people who are frequenting that can actually just scroll straight to the bottom and you don't have to worry about going through and figuring out which are the new ones or which you haven't seen yet. In addition to that, I also work individually with students on scholarships. If something comes my way, I run through my senior list and I look at all of our football players, if it's a football scholarship, and find out which ones meet that eligibility, make copies of that, and make that available to all those students. And at the beginning of the school year, a senior memo was mailed home in September with instructions on how to access that scholarship database for those who weren't aware of that in the past. So, thank you.
Once students have identified their post-secondary plans, we very often have students who need individual one-on-one support. So this evening we'd like to share with you one particular example of that. Shelley Blumenthal is here from Blacksburg High School, and he's going to walk us through a particular example, which is a student who wishes to pursue college athletics, because that takes almost an entirely separate eligibility and application process.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting us here to share some information. When you're dealing with a prospective college student athlete, as a counselor, there's really two types of college admission. One is admission through the admissions office, But if you're a student who's an NCAA Division I or Division II athlete, they have a separate process which is called the NCAA Eligibility Center. So a student, NCAA Division I and II are students that are eligible for athletic scholarships. That particular institution may award those scholarships. So in talking about NCAA Division I and Division II, you're really dealing with one separate group of students. There's NCAA Division III, which primarily are schools typically that are smaller but not exclusively, that are not permitted to award scholarships for athletic ability. Then there's what's called the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, or the NAIA, which is another association made up of schools primarily smaller. Many of those have religious affiliation and have chosen to go with a different set of rules for their particular athletes. The role of the school counselor each fall is to be sure that the school sends to the NCAA Eligibility Center its updated core courses. We, as school counselors, have to make the determination as to whether or not we believe that these are college preparatory courses. We then will send the information to the NCAA Eligibility Center, who will then determine if that is a core course, one that can be used toward a student's eligibility. For example, at Blacksburg High School, this year we are offering Advanced Placement Computer Science. We sent in that course to the NCAA Eligibility Center, and they immediately responded that they would include that on our list of core courses to be counted toward a student's grade point average. The student, him or herself, must be sure to send his or her SAT and/or ACT scores to the Eligibility Center. It has to come directly from the testing agency to the Eligibility Center, and there's a code, much like college codes are out there, where colleges expect the scores to be sent directly from the testing agency, and that number is 9999. And we make sure that our students know that and are able to do that as part of the process. Another part of the process is the student, him or herself, must register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. It's eligibilitycenter.org, and the student has to go about the registration process indicating that he or she is an amateur. The student must also pay a $65 fee. However, there is a fee waiver process that we as counselors can advocate for that student, make sure that they don't have to pay that fee if that's appropriate guidelines are met. And then the NCAA requires that every student has to submit their transcript, an official transcript from the high school they attended, but not just the high school they attended at that particular time, but if they had gone to other high schools. In our case, we're a very transient community. We have a lot of transcripts that have to not only come from us, but go from other schools as well. So we're on top of that with our students to make sure they're covering that. I've given you lots of handouts to explain a little bit about the NCAA process and some of the things that we cover in our evening program. We offer it every October. We typically will have a professional from the NCAA Division I institution to cover Division I and Division II, and I'll cover Division III with the experience that I've had myself. And we also will make sure students have a quick reference guide. That's part of your handout. We have the probability of high school students competing at the collegiate level at any of the divisions, Division I, II, or III. For example, some people can be very unrealistic. We can be very provincial. Division III, II, or I, if you're a high school basketball player, as a female, 3.6% of the high school girls basketball players go on to play women's college basketball. Wow. 3.3% of males go on to play college basketball. Ice hockey is much higher, but that's another story. So the other couple of points that I want to make is we have a course grade worksheet in your packet. We give that. We work with the students on those to make sure that they're reaching the appropriate grade point average. The quick reference sheet describes higher GPA in core courses. SAT, ACT can be lower, and it slides like that. Higher test scores, lower GPA in the core course to become eligible for athletics. And then I mentioned the evening program that we have. I do want to point out, individually, we guide our students individually. Not only are we working with them in the many classroom guidance programs, the many evening programs we have for parents and students, but we also obviously work very closely individually with those students. Thank you very much.
Although it often takes working one-on-one with students, occasionally we do have the opportunity to do things that reach the entire class. Eastern Montgomery recently participated in a unique opportunity, and so I'd like to invite Holly Murden to come forward to tell you about it.
Thank you. Now I'd like to discuss one of the ways Eastern Montgomery High School has reached individual seniors to assist with future planning. Chev, which is our state counselor for higher education in Virginia, selected Eastern Montgomery High School to participate based on our free and reduced lunch population. Chev worked with Virginia colleges to provide participating high schools with promotional materials and fee waivers for college application fees. So students were allowed to apply to college that week for free. All applications were waived for those. In order to promote the program, we hung banners in front of the school and in high traffic areas throughout the school. All teachers posted signs outside their classrooms that indicated where they went to college. This was done in order to elicit student interest in various colleges. As part of Virginia College Application Week, EMHS provided an application day for all seniors. On November 20th, seniors were scheduled to visit the library lab throughout their English classes in order to complete at least one college application for free. In order to prepare students for College Application Day, we visited classrooms and held guidance lessons to assist students with completing a formal resume and a college essay. Furthermore, I visited classrooms to talk to students about their future plans and what kind of college they would like to be applying to that day. On College Application Day, students checked in front of the library, and they were provided with folders that contained instructions for the day, a transcript and a formal resume, their college essay that they completed in classroom guidance, and a USB drive preloaded with college information and also financial aid information. And students were given that USB drive to save, and they were directed to save all college applications that they completed that day on the USB drive. Students were then directed to designated areas in the library by the type of college they were applying to. We had a section for 4-year, 2-year, community college, and trade and technical colleges. We have various volunteers that were selected to work with students one-on-one in designated areas based on their areas of expertise. During our morning session, Ms. Weaver assisted students that were applying to 4-year colleges. Ms. Kennedy from New River Community College worked with students applying to various community colleges. And Mr. Weaver helped students throughout the day who were applying to trade and technical schools. When students completed their applications, they signed a College Application Week banner, and they wrote down where they applied, and they were given a Virginia College Application t-shirt. The same t-shirt board members were given this evening. At the end of the day, all seniors were called to the library. Each student received a gift bag containing college memorabilia, and over 30 prizes were raffled, including gift cards and college souvenirs. 89 total applications were completed that week by 53 students. 67 four-year college applications were completed, 13 community college applications, and 9 trade and technical college applications. We had approximately 29 potential first-generation college students, and they completed 59 of those college applications. And 4 minority students completed 11 applications. Our students benefited from this program. It was exciting to work one-on-one with students. Our volunteers had a wonderful time. We had volunteers from the school board office, various community members, and experts in the college, in different college fields, and even a representative from admissions office. So it was a wonderful time for all, and our students benefited greatly. Thank you.
I also wanted to remind you that in addition to all of the individual school opportunities, our division also maintains a website to serve as a clearinghouse for information assisting parents and students. There's a wealth of information that talks about everything from graduation requirements, helps parents explore possible college opportunities, and also has interest inventories, all kinds of things that will be useful in the college and career search. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
First, I'd like to say that I really, really, really enjoyed going to the day at Eastern Montgomery. I really enjoyed working with students, and I tended to push them to apply for more than one school. And it was really a great event. I wish we could have it everywhere, but I know that's not possible. My question, along with the military opportunities that we offer in the school system, are we yet sharing with the students about VISTA and AmeriCorps? Because to me, this is big, and when I first got on the board, I spent a lot of time contacting the various schools about it, and I just think it's an opportunity. It's not easy to get in. A lot of things aren't easy, but I would really hope that we would be sure to let our graduating seniors know about that opportunity.
Yeah, we do our very best to expose them to all the opportunities. I think that was one of the wonderful parts about College Application Week, is we really did try to have a niche for every student and make sure that all their interests were represented, so they didn't feel like it was the only successful completion of that day would be for a four-year university.
So we do share with them and let them know about VISTA and AmeriCorps?
Right.
Cool, thank you.
I have some concerns, and I don't want to sound like kind of a nudge, but having 2 smart athletic boys graduate and have not having a 4-year degree, or my husband, with it, your first student, and we've talked about athletes, or super athletes, and we've talked about maybe a little bit of the underprivileged or a higher excelling student. But what about the students at 3.2 with 2 working parents? I did a FAFSA, and that was not good. Okay, and there's not a lot of opportunity out there for that range of student. And we tended with my first son to miss lots of opportunities because we started too late. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know, it's like the data notebook you were talking about. That sounds great. I think that's wonderful. But what about that parent who don't have a clue about it? How do they find out about that? For my first son, I wouldn't have known where to look to begin to start looking, So when we did start looking, well, we had done missed this, we'd done missed that, well, we couldn't get that, well, it was too late for this. So, what about that kind of situation? What are we doing? I mean, and Mr. Polly he told me one time when we were looking in this search that Auburn gave out a booklet, I believe as a junior. You remember that? And it was a fold-out thing. I think that was phenomenal. I don't know if all of our schools are doing that. And you know, I'm a true believer, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I mean, we've had many, many meets and greets, and we're there meeting and greeting each other. I mean, I truly understand, and I hear you. But sometimes I'm thinking, you know, by the time they get a senior, you know, what have we missed? You know, the pre-ACTs and SATs, and I mean, I know with my son, you know, we had a football game Friday night and 7 o'clock SATs at Tech the next morning. I mean, so my thoughts are, how can we get those parents that aren't, or these students are first year, and they might not want a 4-year, they may just want a 2-year, but they still want to take their ACTs, and they want to take the, you know, the SATs. And as a junior, then you're kind of winding down, okay, this is when you need to start preparing for this. And I know my second son came through, and granted, you know, as a senior, he didn't get into Tech, even with a 3.6, because his, you know, like you said, the essay wasn't quite good enough. But, you know, how do we guide those kinds of students that are good, smart students? They just don't have quite the knowledge of knowing how to make it a little bit better. And it sounds like things are coming along every year, which is great, and we're getting smarter. But, you know, what do we do for that parent like me who just who wouldn't know where to go and look to even start the process?
I think we're doing a variety of things. I think we're trying to utilize every technology available to us to communicate with parents. I think School Messenger has helped with that. You know, you're seeing low-tech things like postcards. Right, absolutely. So those things we're trying to take advantage of. I think the other thing that we're trying to do is really incorporate as many of those pieces as we can into our curriculum. Things like you heard Ms. Murden mention, doing that college essay, having the resume completed, trying to build those things so that every student has them. And then obviously trying to take some of the pieces from the experience, although not every school is eligible to participate in College Application Week, there are pieces of that that we can certainly build into our everyday process. So I think that's the other thing we're trying to do. FAFSA is a perfect example. You know, I hope that Ms. Stantz mentioned, you know, they have a great participation, but we'd obviously like to expand that because it really does take, even with our most experienced parents, I mean, those of you that have been through the process, that's a difficult thing to do. And so it really is wonderful to be able to sit down with a person step by step and do that, which is, Phyllis saw, that's what we did at Eastern Montgomery. We were able to sit down with students and actually go through step by step with them that application process. So we're trying to build as many of those pieces as we can into our curriculum.
Well, and I appreciate the grant information that you were talking about and different, you know, things like that, because that too is another, if you don't know what's out there, how can you apply for something? And those are the things that I'm glad to see and I would want to see more of, because even though FAFSA's hard, like I said, it doesn't prove to be positive for a 2-income family, even if it's just standard average income family. It is not, it doesn't work to be a positive, you know, situation. So you need to look at other outlets. And, you know, I know I'm just going to use, say, for an example, we looked at Emory and Henry. Well, yeah, we could have gotten $10,000, but on a $30,000, $40,000 a year, that still leaves a lot of money for an average incomed family. So, you know, it's nice to know all the different things that are out there that, you know, I had no clue. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we've come a long way in the last year and a half because, you know, I think just having the list of the available scholarships, you know, 2 years ago I heard complaints that parents didn't know anything about what scholarships were available. They had to do all these searches on their own. And, you know, I just pulled up the site here and looked at all the scholarships that were available and the time periods that they were available. And I think that's a great tool for a parent. And, you know, also one of my office mates has sophomores, and she already knows when she needs to have certain things done because they've started doing those classes for the sophomores to let them know, okay, this is what you need to do this year, you need to be ready for this next year, and so on. So I think there has been a lot of improvements in that area.
And that's also available at each of the individual schools or through our division website, links to those scholarship pages as well.
Well, it's just great hearing all the information, and it sounds like the application week was just a lot of fun and a lot of incentives for kids to participate and, you know, work among their peers to say we're going to keep moving forward with our education. My concern is at the middle school level, helping children understand that they can pursue, a 4-year, 2-year, or the trade route. And what are we doing there to help folks understand this is available, especially our minority students and our students who are at risk?
Absolutely. And actually, Montgomery County tries really hard to build those initiatives in beginning in pre-K with our Commit to Graduate. We actually have, Dr. Graham has established a Commit to Graduate committee with elementary, middle, and high on it that have been brainstorming some things that we can make division-wide practices to try and start early and instill that belief that not only is getting a high school diploma, the graduation is certainly one of our goals, but having plans when you leave us and being prepared for them is just as important. So that's one initiative that we have going on. And we're also trying to expand, the state, I think, although it's taken us a lot of work, one thing that the state did mandate that's been very useful is the academic and career plan at the middle school level. And we're still early in that process. We still have lots of professional development and training to make it a truly meaningful experience. But that does provide our middle school guidance counselors with an opportunity to sit down with every student and do those interest inventories and those career inventories and have them start thinking about those plans. And then those plans are also reviewed once they get to high school.
Okay, thank you.
To start.
Yeah.
Those, I think these are some great programs, and the diversity that they brought to our attention was important. East Montgomery High School I think is doing something that really is effective and touches my heart. They had 53 students were involved in this, and I'm hoping that most of those students were free and reduced lunch, or all of them were.
That's all their seniors. Their entire senior class participated. That was everyone. Yeah.
Well,
that's just a small class, but that represents their entire senior class participated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all were there. Everybody was there.
And everybody was getting really good help, Joe. It was
Excellent. But okay, let's go to the other 3 schools.
Sure.
Is something like that happening in the other 3 schools? Because I know this. I know the free and reduced lunch programs at Christiansburg, Auburn, and Blacksburg are quite high, as they are in East Montgomery, maybe higher in East Montgomery.
This is the first year we've participated in the program because we were selected. This is a state pilot. Last year they picked 16 schools.
That's not what I'm asking.
Oh, sorry.
I know they're not doing this in the other schools. I'm asking, is something being done in the other schools?
Yes, we're using as many pieces of what they did at East Montgomery as we can. The big piece that's missing is that at East Montgomery, all the kids had fee waivers because that was part of the state initiative. So yes, we're doing the sit-downs and helping them fill out the FAFSAs. We're doing the working on the essays in the English classrooms with students. So we are, and next year, one of the things I've asked Jennifer to do is really take a look at what we did at East Montgomery, and let's see if we can create a plan that every school would implement, knowing that it would vary from place to place because of I can't get a fee waiver like the state can get a fee waiver. So, but we're going to take all the pieces of that plan that was done at East Montgomery, work with the counselors to see how we can replicate as much of it as we possibly can in our other schools. One of the things East Montgomery has going for it also is because their senior class is so small, if you've got 53 kids to work with, you can do it in a very compressed time frame. But if you've got 250 kids to work with, you got to spread it out because it is a huge animal to get your arms around. And, every single one of those kids' application and the conversations that you have with them around the application is different because each one of them has different strengths and different needs and different family ability to pay and all kinds of things. So that it is a very individualized process.
I think that would be great because I know even certain opportunities they would have on Saturdays to go and visit colleges. But my kids couldn't go because they weren't in a lower income bracket. And I don't think that's right, you know, because they had a high interest level of wanting to go, and they weren't allowed to participate because we were an average income family. And so having an opportunity for students like that is just as important. And so I think what the work they're doing is great, but that needs to be widespread to every, you know, student, not just, you know, the less fortunate students or the high achieving students. So, thank you.
But let me continue if I may. The other question is, and I think somebody already addressed this, but the middle school is really pertinent in starting this process. I had 4 youngsters who went on to college, and they knew they were going to go to college when they were in middle school. So when they got into high school, the process fell into place.
Sure.
And I have no idea what their counselors did with them. I know I didn't do anything, because I told them, I said, if you're going to school, then you work it out. And they did, but this was years ago, so things have changed drastically. I think we do need to take care of our athletes. We do need to take care of our bright, well-to-do students, but I'm really concerned about those students who are in need, who are living in poverty, who are free and reduced and living in poverty. And it's hard to identify all of them just because you have a free and reduced list, and the counselors know this, in the high schools. That doesn't measure what the kids are doing, because some of them, many of them, don't want anything to do with that. They just want to go their way, and they've got to be identified. They've got to be identified, and they've got to be helped more than some of the other students. I find that most kids who are really bright seem to manage pretty well. Those other kids who are struggling because they're hungry, because they don't have a roof over their head,
Sure.
those things are really causing me a great deal of difficulty if they're not getting the help. And I think that's where our focus should be.
Yeah, our goal is for every student to leave us with a solid plan.
And I would come back on what Joe was saying, and when I used to train PTA presidents for the Virginia Congress PTAs, I said, we're not here for our kids. Our kids are going to be fine. We're here for the kids whose parents aren't here. And I would like to suggest at some point that maybe if there's a money problem for application to school, and I don't want to get into details, but we do have a Montgomery County Educational Foundation now, and we may be able to raise money, have a special pot for that. I don't know. But it certainly is worth looking into and seeing if that might be a viable way, because I agree with everybody that we all agree. We're on the same wavelength. But that's an idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Not to belabor it, but I agree with Joe. I mean, I think congratulations to Eastern Montgomery High School and what they've done.
Yes.
I think it's an excellent baseline, and I thank them for what they do. But if there's any way, and we can spread that to the other high schools and middle schools as well.
Yeah.
I'll go one step further. In the place I work at, there used to be a guidance counselor at the elementary level who would bring the 5th graders on a tour of our facility every spring to talk about what they were getting ready to leave 5th grade and move into middle school, and they would bring all the 5th graders through a tour of the factory, and then we would conduct a little bit of an overview. And the focus, she said, Wendell, what I want you to focus on is the importance of education and what you're able to earn based on the level of education, so as they start to move into the middle school and high school years, they can understand the value of that, of what they're trying to do. So, you know, it really does, not only does it start at the middle school level, but I think it really can start at the elementary level, introducing the children to what's available to them. The fee waiver, you know, that was great. That was key, I think, in the success of what happened in Eastern Montgomery. And I would encourage the guidance counseling staff, if you've got a child that has an issue with fees, then let's make sure we work that out. I think what is occurring now is that there's a perception that we can no longer afford to go to college. And we need to try to figure out how to say, you can afford to go to college. It's obviously going to be painful. I know personally how painful it is, but it's. I think that somehow if we can eradicate, and that's probably not the best choice of the word, but create a communication that this is how you can make college affordable. This is how you can be able to attend. Yeah, it's not inexpensive. You will have to figure out ways, but there's ways that we can do it, and here's how we can help. There are lots of scholarships and lots of ways to be able to get the money to be able to go, so we can communicate that as well. But thank you for everything you're doing. I agree with Ms. Foster. I think in the past 2 or 3 years, things have really, really cranked up. The use of the website, I think the use of social media also is a big help with the kids now. They'll pay attention quicker to text and to Instagram and all these different things, much Twitter evidently now than they will a lot of the other things, communications that go out. So congratulations for all your hard work. Thank you. And if you need something, okay, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you. Thanks for letting us present. We appreciate it.
I just want to say that I think Danny and the whole school, the staff and everyone, deserves a lot of credit in doing this. I don't know who else was behind it, but this was a great undertaking. And I couldn't get out there, but I read all I could about it. And I think that's really was phenomenal. It's what we need.
It was a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. Our next item this evening is new course approvals, and you saw the new courses at our last meeting, and there are 3 of them: Technology of Robotics Design, which is a CTE course, Manufacturing Systems 1, a CTE course, and Grade 12 Mathematics Capstone, and we're recommending these for your approval this evening.
I move.
Diane?
Second. Whatever.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Your courses are approved.
Next item is the request that the board consider the job description and implementation of a part-time benefits data assistant in Human Resources Department. As we have been talking this fall about lots of different things that are going on with the new VRS and with the changes in the insurance structure, I have made you aware that we expect to expend over 600 manpower hours before the end of the year to accomplish some of these tasks. Also, at this point, it's being handled piecemeal by many people, so we don't have a single point of contact. So rather than look at this as an overtime position or overtime work for those folks who are already very busy in human resources, I've recommended that we hire a temporary part-time employee for the remainder of the school year to assist with this function. I've also indicated that we do have a funding source. The funding source is from the cafeteria plan that employees have an opportunity to contribute to, and they have an opportunity to set aside pre-tax dollars each year. And from those, they then file for reimbursement. The IRS rules are that if the employee does not use that money, it reverts to the employer, and it may not be redistributed in any manner to the employee whose funds created the source. So we have about, I think it's $16,000 that were not claimed by our employees for reimbursements last year, and that is despite the fact that there are multiple warning systems in place for employees to know that they have money that they have not expended from that cafeteria plan structure. So I present this evening for your consideration. I have added it as a recommended action item for this evening.
How many employees do we have in the HR department?
Can I go for a motion and a sub so we can go in discussion?
Sure.
I need a motion.
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Thank you.
Joe, I'm going to ask you if you would come to the podium, please. In our HR department, we've got the payroll side and we've got the
payroll
HR, so let's...
Just dealing with true HR issues, how many employees do you have?
Okay, total employees, We have part-time, full-time, 2,400.
No, your department.
My department,
Excluding payroll.
excluding payroll, is 3, 4, 5. I have to count them. I have 4 in my well, 5, I'm sorry, including Roberta. I'm missing Roberta, 5.
To me, is a half-time position enough? Because, I mean, I've been through a lot of the state changes that occur in, you know, some of the processes, the paperwork. You have to have employees who are knowledgeable of this, and it's much cheaper to hire someone new in part-time than to pay someone who's already here overtime, time and a half, versus a less seasoned employee. It's common sense. It's going to be a lot less money. But I have to wonder if a half-time person is enough to cover what you're going to need to do in the next 6 months to a year.
We talked about it at length and felt that the half-time employee would get us to June 30th and would allow us to get a better handle on exactly what is the extent of the need that's going to be associated with the functions that would go with this part-time position.
Okay, that's good to know.
What's the 600 hours that's being tossed around?
That includes time that we need to first learn about all the different aspects of the plans.
Let me ask you this. Is it time we've already spent on this also?
No, sir.
So it's down the road?
It's projecting through January, through the end of this month.
It's projecting
basically.
through June 30.
Oh, the 600 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Which breaks down to, how many days is that?
How many days?
Yeah, anybody know?
200
150?
200 days.
200 days? So that's 3 hours a day?
We would probably not have somebody come in for that amount of time. We would probably have a 2-day or 3-day a week plan so that we would have them for a full day. And of course,
Yeah, but-
that kind
but
of
it's- but it's
schedule.
about 3 days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's correct.
So I want to make sure I understand, is this person just going to be more of an analyst? Or is this person going to be interacting with the employees and helping them understand the plan and educating the plan?
That's it. That's the goal here, is to get this person on board so they can become well educated on all the different aspects of the hybrid plan that goes along with the hybrid plan, so that if employees have questions, they have a go-to person for that.
So is this, is the enrollment in the hybrid plan automatic? When we hire the new person, is that going to be like an automatic?
If
thing?
they're new, they're going to go into that plan. Yes.
Is it, when I say automatic, is it like an online process that you fill out?
No,
Is it
sir.
all paperwork driven still?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there any plans to go online?
Yes, sir. I've got the, I have plans to go to a self-serve, but that's down the road. We still have to upgrade Munis and those types of things before we can do that.
And that would be when the employee is able to log in and go in and manage the plan?
Yes, sir. There'll be some of that, but there'll still be a paper trail that has to go along with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're dealing with folks' money and taxes, and there will be paper.
So if you were to, down the road, go to more of an online system, the need for this type of work here may lessen the burden?
We would hope, but that's not really what's going to happen, because there's still going to be reconciliation every month. Employees are going to be able to change quarterly what they contribute to. There's going to be adding employees, taking away employees. There's going to be all that managing the short-term, long-term disability, making sure that we're making the payments to the company, those types of things. So there's going to be all those moving parts within that plan as well. It would be nice to say they just enroll and they go on, but there's lots of different paperwork to be done each and every month that goes along with these plans as well.
And all new employees go to this plan, so you're going to get more and more people who are going to have more and more questions about this on a monthly or quarterly basis.
Yes, ma'am.
Than what you have now. So long term, you're actually going to need more support.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Which leads me to this question. So, do we see this becoming a budget item?
in a minute, I'm going to get to talk about the budget when we do the budget update. And, you know, yes, it's going to be a budget consideration because essentially it is another unfunded mandate, in my opinion, in the implementation of a whole new VRS plan that you're required to educate people about and implement, along with all the associated issues that are related to long-term disability. So yes, it very likely will be a budget discussion, but I need to get to June 30th and get my arms around how big is the problem and have somebody who is a real go-to for the information related to this specific issue.
Well, I have some of the same concerns that Dreama has about just being part-time. You know, I understand you just want to get through, right? But if we really want to have someone who is going to be able to have the time to, you know, gain the knowledge, understand how to communicate that in a way that folks are, you know, going to get it, be able to process what needs to be processed. I just don't think, really, and I have a problem with the part-time and no benefits for this person who's going to be working so hard for everybody else's benefits. So if we have the funds to make this a full-time position at this point, you know, I would like for us to consider that. I mean, could it hurt? What could it hurt?
So, could I offer a suggestion? Can we go ahead and approve it as it's presented to the board now with direction to the superintendent to go back and look at how to fund this into a full-time position and bring that back in January? So that at least they can get moving on this, because I think if we need to not wait until January to advertise a full-time
They'll
position.
have to go back and then re-advertise. Do I see that little look as if maybe you don't need a full-time person?
No, ma'am. I'm not giving. If I'm doing that, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'm going to follow this up and make a motion that we take this recommendation but move it from a part-time to a full-time position.
Second.
So you're amending the vote.
Yeah.
Take
Let me
this
get my
and
rules
amend it.
here. We've amended the motion.
Amend the motion to make it a full-time position as opposed to a part-time position.
Okay.
When you're dealing with this kind of stuff, you have to have someone who's very knowledgeable, because if we're not giving employees the correct information, we're going to have a lot bigger issue than spending this amount on this position.
Okay, so we've got a second. So now we need to focus on the amendment vote. Okay. Discussion on the amendment to move it from part-time to full-time is the
Okay.
discussion.
Well, yes. First, I wanted to make sure I heard that there, with the figures here, with this savings that we have, there are the funds to make it full-time.
I'm not sure 16,000 covers the whole full-time position. I'd have to do the hourly. I knew I had enough money to cover it half-time. So, Joe, do you know what the approximate, of course it varies, do you know the approximate?
I'd have to go back and calculate because then you're adding benefits and such, and those that's where it comes in. The higher figure will come in. So we can definitely look at that.
So I guess the question is, do you know where you can find the funds to make it full-time yet?
Even in the leanest economic times that we've gone through in the last few years, there's always been a little bit of carryover. So year-end money. So that would be where I would look for the remainder of the position at this point.
Joe, this is no disrespect to you, but I'm going to vote no. We have teachers, hundreds of teachers, who teach all day, go home and continue working at home, sometimes 3 hours a night, sometimes 5 nights a week. I think what we're doing is frivolous, especially when we expand it to full-time. I was going to vote no at halftime. I'm going to vote twice if I can for full-time. We're sending out an awful message. This is the year where it's going to be very, very difficult budget-wise, and yet we're moving something that we don't even know that you're indicating you need somebody for halftime, and the board is saying, no, we're going to give you full-time. What type of picture does that show to our teachers who are out there busting their chops every day, going home, continuing working 1, 2, 3 hours a night, and then all of a sudden we come out and do something like this? I can't support this at all.
I don't understand, the comparison. I really don't. And I don't think what I'm asking or the rationale that I'm putting behind it is frivolous. I think what we're doing is helping to provide a service for those folks who are working hard for us to make sure that they're getting the information and that it's being applied the way it should be.
The other positions in the department, are they exempt or non-exempt?
They are non-exempt.
So we would be paying these employees overtime. Asking them to work over 40 hours a week and not compensating them would be violating federal law. So we either pay these other employees time and a half, or we hire another person at either part-time or full-time. We can't ask the staff that's there to work outside their normal hours without compensating them, or we're breaking federal law.
Well, and from a different viewpoint, lots of teachers that I speak to depend tremendously on human resources and making sure they have the correct information to tell them so they're comfortable in the decisions that they make. So I think we're doing everybody a service, not just your department, but everybody that works for the county, that they feel secure in going to a department that they can find out information and they know exactly what they're presented with, other than we'll get back to you, we don't have time for that, can't do that right now, well, I'm just not real sure, I'll get back. And no disrespect to anyone in doing that, but I can't, I've often said that sometimes when we don't feel that we make our just, if your job is a little easier and you have help, it makes that little just a little bit easier to deal with. So I'm looking at it from a different viewpoint.
Yeah, Jamie, you said exactly what I was thinking and feeling and wanting to say. Thanks.
Again, reminding folks, the motion is to go from part-time to full-time. I'm going to vote no on the full-time simply because of I have a firm belief I need to understand where the money's coming from and want to make sure that the superintendent has recommended to us that at this point it needs to be part-time, and that is what the Director of Human Resources has indicated as part-time. I'm not opposed to part-time, but I want to have in front of me where is that money coming from before I vote. I have that in front of me now for part-time, but I don't have that for full-time, so that's the reason why I would be voting no for full-time.
Joe, can I ask you a question about your personnel? Are your folks salaried?
Yes, sir. They are in a sense. I mean, a lot of our employees are salaried in a sense. They get equal pay.
I'm talking about the ones in your office.
No, only two other employees are salaried in my department.
So, if having worked in personnel, when I had to get the job done and it took more than 8 hours, I worked more than 8 hours.
Yes.
Is that correct in your office?
Yes, sir.
For
Do
two
they?
people.
Excuse me. Do they get paid overtime?
No, sir.
No, they don't. Neither
sir.
did I.
We have.
My point is, we're not breaking any laws by asking them to do X, Y, and Z beyond A, B, and C. Am I correct?
Yes, but you're speaking about Joe, Roberta, and Roger.
Correct.
Those are the three salaried employees.
Correct.
That's correct.
And probably if you drive past Montgomery County Public Schools offices on any weekend, you will likely find at least 2 of the 3 cars already there.
You're right.
So the only reason I have brought this to you is because the workload now exceeds what's reasonable to expect, even from people who go above and beyond on a regular basis. And the work is appropriate for lower salaried employee. It's not really appropriate for me to take somebody who's in a, $90,000 job and ask them to spend a major portion of their time doing work that does not require their level of expertise. So, that's another piece of the rationale for the position. And although certainly full-time is appreciated, we can get our arms around the problem with a smaller start. And that's what I was trying to do, is get our arms around the problem.
So by asking, one of the reasons that you just recommended part-time was because it was a place to start, period. It wasn't that full-time was not needed. It was just the fact that it was an opportunity to get it a little bit of help without asking for the moon, so to speak.
Because the animal will grow in all likelihood.
Absolutely.
But
It's
the
gonna
animal
be an
is a
ugly
certain
animal.
size right
that's what
now.
Grandma said.
And the halftime would allow us to be ready to deal with the animal as it grows. And if that meant the position would evolve from a part-time to a full-time, fine. But right now, we could get our arms around it with a part-time position.
Okay, so can we go ahead and approve the part-time tonight and then ask the superintendent to look in January where she might find the funding and bring that back?
That's what he
That's what I
suggested.
that's what I was hoping.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It was
But
so
we-
long ago, I forgot.
But we got a motion on the table about part-time versus full-time. Can we get through that? Okay, are we ready to, any further questions on part-time versus full-time? Okay, because that's, I got to work this down here in my Robert's Rule of Orders now. Okay.
You have to tell me
All
where
right.
we're at.
All those in favor of moving it from part-time to full-time indicate by signify by saying aye.
Aye.
How many ayes do we have? 3? Why don't you raise your hand on this one?
Please.
3, okay. All those against, nay, part-time.
That's against
The
full-time,
motion
Mr. Jones.
Against full-time.
Against full-time.
Against
Full-time. Against full-time. Okay.
Only because I just
A
want
tie, so the
move
motion
money.
fails.
Correct.
Okay, now we're back to the original motion. Okay, which is what I recommended earlier is, and again, to me, it's a budget. The superintendent has recommended that she knows what she wants to do with this. She's got the money to cover it. I'm perfectly fine with what we're trying to accomplish, well, sort of kind of a way, an unfunded mandate kind of way, I guess. And that if it does evolve and it does grow, then bring it back and we'll talk about it again. I have no problem with that either, because then you'll come back and tell us where the money is coming from. I don't like approving things based on the speculative nature of where the budget money may come from. So,
And I can agree with that, except for not waiting for the monster to grow, look to see where the funds are at and then bring that back to us. So if we can move it to full.
that's good.
Yeah.
And your candidate pool is going to be totally different for part-time versus full-time.
And also, after you get part-time, you'll have to re-advertise for full-time and could, okay, just putting that information out there.
Why'd you say it before?
Do what?
Ready to go on.
But you
Rima
know,
said it all.
I think I trust the superintendent and her staff, based on this conversation, as they look into the future to try to find a suitable candidate that would be able to hopefully evolve into a full-time position.
But, with those points, because I really want to go home tonight, we have in the past, just tonight, approved with personnel reports for positions to be moved from part-time to full-time, just adding the hours, and we don't have to go back and re-advertise, right? Or when we change the hours?
They didn't go from part-time to
Well,
full-time.
well, I mean,
They
just
just
in,
got a half hour or an hour in some cases bumped. So they don't have to be re-advertised.
okay.
But this would have to be.
They were already full-time positions.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just saying, with this, would we have to, if we decide now this is full-time?
Yes, you would have to.
Re-advertise. Okay.
Would you like me to go back?
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the, can you restate the motion for us based on the lengthy conversation? I want to make sure I get this right.
We're voting now on the original motion, which is
Yes.
to approve the part-time benefits data assistant job description and authorize the administration to post and hire for the position.
Okay. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
I think it's 2. All those in All those against?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's 4. So the motion fails.
Okay. Are you ready for the budget update?
You want me to go up? You want me to go back?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and restate my motion, which is to amend this, proposal and change it from a part-time to a full-time position.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Okay. And I'm going to vote yes with this, even though I do have concerns that I don't see where the money's coming from. But quite frankly, with our budget, we sit and we wait to see how many teachers are going to retire, to see how we're going to fund our budget. And I have issues with that too. But I do believe we need to get this in place now.
And I'm very concerned that it be done right and be done, as Dreamer was saying, somebody who's really qualified to make it happen. And I think we probably would only get somebody full-time that way. And I appreciate Dreamer's perspective, along with everybody else's.
Any further discussion?
What's the motion?
The motion is to change the proposal here, from part-time to full-time.
This is on, we're still on item C, the part-time,
Mm-hmm.
3/4 assistant. And the, moving
will
it
be
from
it.
part-time to full-time. Any further discussion?
Mr. Jones, I didn't catch the second.
Ms. Vaughn.
Jamie did the second.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
How about raising your hands, please? All those against? Aye. Motion carries. So now you've got a full-time position. Congratulations.
Thank you. Moving on to the budget update.
Well, I'm glad that wasn't a really hard.
I need another piece of candy.
As you all know, the governor's budget was released yesterday, and it is a $96 billion biennial budget. K-12 and pre-K have added to it $582.6 million. And I think to put that into perspective, you know, you need to pull the onion away to know what it means.
Exactly.
You look at $582 million, and you know that there are 137 school divisions in the state of Virginia, and all of us little small guys over here in Southwest Virginia don't get a big piece of that $582 million.
Well, plus nothing for teachers. No
And
raise for teachers at all.
there are some very disturbing things in the budget, and I'm going to take a minute and talk about those a little
Thank you.
bit. Number one, I'm disturbed that pre-K is included in that 582 because I think pre-K should always be spoken about separately. So some of that $582 million will not go into regular K-12. And remember, you're required to do K-12, but you are not required to do pre-K. So although I'm an advocate of it, I don't think you should ever mix pre-K dollars in K-12 conversation. So what does it mean for Montgomery County Public Schools? So don't react until I get to the end. Okay.
That's hard.
It looks like $2.8 million in new money for Montgomery County Public Schools. So now let's start subtracting. We're expecting that we're going to have to pay approximately 2.8% additional in employer-paid VRS. That is $1.4 million. Katie, you're doing the subtraction back there, okay? And then you recall last year there was 2% money for SOQ positions in the governor's budget, 2% salary money. Well, they said they might not refund it. Well, guess what? They didn't refund it.
Oh, my God.
So there's $560,000 that we have to fund for the 2% raises that we gave last year, not to mention
560,000.
And then we're expecting a 10% increase in health insurance, which is $1.1 million. And we got $575,000 in one-time money from the Board of Supervisors that we used for roofs, for technology, and for buses. And we restored $226,000 worth of items to the budget with non-recurring money. So Katie, how much did I just cover? That's what I thought you were going to say, Katie. So when you see the statement that we get $2.8 million in new money, I just gave you the talking points. 1.4 right off the top for VRS employer contributions. $560,000 to fund the raises for the year of the teacher last year. Okay. 1.1 estimated for additional costs for health insurance. $226,000 to refund some of the things we put back in the budget. And remember, we didn't put any frivolous stuff back in the budget.
We didn't.
And $575,000 to restore the money that, one-time money that the supervisors provided last year for roofs, technology, and buses. So after meeting with Katie and John this afternoon and talking about the budget, I really felt quite ill. So it's going to be a very tough year. And I think that there are a couple of things that we all need to be doing. You know, number one, we need to make sure our public is informed about what is the real story behind the $2.8 million. And number two, we need to certainly hope that our supervisors will maintain the tax level at the current level and consider the options for increasing that. So it will be another tough January, February, and March. And this is an ideal time for me to ask you to take a look at your calendars and let's see if we can find a date for a budget workshop the second week of January. And I would suggest, since that Tuesday is not a board meeting night, that perhaps that might be a starting point for the discussion.
And then would that possibly, after the meeting, somehow figure out a way to get to our representatives about it so they know very directly what's going on here in their own territory?
I spoke to Joseph Yost today. I didn't have all the facts at that point. At that point, I didn't think we had but $2 million, but I knew 1.4 of it was going to VRS.
Right.
So yes, you can start talking to your reps today if you get home before midnight.
No, but after the meeting in January, when we've got all the facts together, I would recommend that the board send a letter, at least, if not meet with our representatives at the state.
Well, we couldn't get them to meet with us.
No, I know. I said send a letter.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree with sending a letter.
Yeah.
I thought you said meet with them.
Or, I said, send, if, I'd love a meeting, but I understand that. But at least send a letter very well documenting our situation. And also put in there that we have lost, in the last 5 years, $10 million from the state and the federal government. Ridiculous.
In January, I believe the dates are the 27th, 28th.
Second week in January.
No, I'm talking about an opportunity to talk with our folks at Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
Through VSBA. So.
Well, our first meeting in January is the 7th of January. So the next, obviously, the next Tuesday is the 14th, if we want to go ahead and take a look at the 14th. And the budget workshop in January.
If you remember, please.
Does that look okay?
It's Tuesday.
Okay, it's a Tuesday.
All the data in it.
14th?
Oh.
Yes, sir.
We typically do those at 7 that are on off days.
So 7 o'clock on the 14th, it'll be our first budget workshop. Is that what you're after?
Yes, that's what I'm after.
So we need a motion for that?
Probably need to do it under new business, since it's not part of this.
Okay.
But the answer is yes. Okay?
So I will, nope, I'll continue to watch, and Katie and John will continue to watch, and, you know, we have our staff meeting on Monday the 6th to start our conversations.
Maybe one of us will win the big lottery tonight and say.
Isn't it interesting? It's almost exactly the amount that's added to the to the pre-K-12 budget for education in the state of Virginia. That mega,
Is that the big lottery?
the mega lottery thing tonight.
Oh, it'll probably be 700.
Before it's all over. Okay, next item.
Facilities update?
Facilities update. And we have Dan with us to do that. Dan.
I know it's late, and I'll be brief, and because you have to buy your lottery tickets before 10.
Oh, darn with
Sorry.
Got mine.
Missed out.
First three projects you've seen before. The CHS auditorium project will complete this week with carpet replacement. The mobile classroom was completed, and also the roof replacement at Falling Branch has been completed. We're beginning a couple of new ones, the Shawsville Middle School Annex demolition and adjoining outbuildings. We're starting the planning on that. And as you know, we've begun the Christiansburg area school feasibility study. Some smaller projects with others, PTAs, boosters, the town of Blacksburg, the newer ones towards the bottom in bold, Harding Avenue, that's the town of Blacksburg, and their safe routes to school. It's a pathway through the campus. They're working on design for that. The landscaping improvements, basically taking out the fish pond and cleaning up the landscaping at Auburn Elementary School. Market Beaks, a small bench and a reading garden. The next one at BHS, not a facility project, but I wanted you to know about it. Their boosters are looking to purchase a mobile concession trailer. So you'll see that around, hopefully, if they get that. But they're well along in pricing them out. And the Soccer Association is looking for a place to put a storage shed there at BMS. A couple that just came in, one from Eastern Montgomery High School. They would like to do a small brick paver area called the Alumni Walk around the flagpoles. And the Lions Club, in conjunction with the American Chestnut Foundation, would like to plant some American chestnuts that are resistant to the blight at some of our schools this Arbor Day. So we'll give you more on that next time. These are the disposition of our old properties. Good news is on the second to the last one, the former Shawsville Elementary School, we're turning that one over this week to the county to take care of, and Marty McMahon at the county is beginning to do the paperwork to transfer the deed. So we'll be handing, not the keys, we're actually going to help the county and change the cores on the locks, and they'll use their keys after this week. The capital maintenance projects, most of them we've talked about. Now that we have the door security grant and we got the extra money from the Board of Supervisors, now we could do the final coordination with the first project there, the door hardware security, and those projects are moving along. The door hardware itself should now be finished in about a month with the final purchases on that. And of course, you know, the other schools will take a while to get finished, the electronic portion. Then the other three projects are completed.
I understand we heard they issued a press release today about the sale of Price's Fork Elementary.
That's correct. I think I forwarded a copy of it.
$850,000 is what we got for Price's Fork, or the county got for Price's Fork Elementary.
150,000. Oh, thank you.
850. So that was good news on the sale of the properties. The county's doing a good job getting the properties sold. So.
Yeah, county's doing a great job. The town of Blacksburg could do something to help the rest of the citizens in Montgomery County. It would be great too.
I've actually talked to people about this, and it's more than just the town of Blacksburg, and I think we have to let the county and whoever's going at it at it, because I asked initially just this last week, I've asked a couple of people working with the county, why didn't the county ever put that out for bid? And they never did. And that to me is the beginning of something that's evolved into strangeness. But I just think we all have to work together and make something happen. I mean, never putting it out for bid is very interesting to me. So.
It's interesting because the town of Blacksburg would not rezone. So if you don't rezone
I
it
talked
in
to
the
people
bid,
in the county about
please.
it.
Phyllis, I've been dealing with this
I know
since the
you
day
have.
I sat on this board.
I
and the town of
understand
Blacksburg is the holdup.
No. If you talk with people in the county, that's not the case.
I don't need to talk to them. I've lived it. I've lived it.
Well,
So can we move to the next agenda item?
You can, but that's a
Well.
big point for me, especially when we're sitting and looking at millions of dollars that the county is gonna have to come up with to help support the school system.
Oh, absolutely.
Again.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That's
And
why
we've
I
got
talked.
millions of dollars being lost
And
every
that's why
year.
I talked to county people about it after our meeting.
Next agenda item.
Don't believe everything you hear.
Okay, I'd like to welcome Jason Pack from Skanska this evening, and Jason is on our project at Auburn Middle School, and Jason,
And
it's all
thank you for
yours.
being so patient.
Yeah.
No problem. Good evening, board members and Ms. Blackburn. I'll be as brief as possible. I know we all want to get home, so. In the following slides, you'll see a progression of the work at Auburn Middle School. In the slide to the left, this is the area overlooking the administration offices, choral, and band rooms. We have bearing walls going up in preparation for steel, which is arriving on site this week. In the photo to the right, you can see a slab has been poured for the boys and girls locker room, which is next to the existing gymnasium. In this slide, on the photo to the left, footings have been poured for the elevator pit and stair. In the photo to the right, the corridor in the existing building has been primed and is ready to receive paint. In the next slide, the plumbing chase walls are going up in the existing building, in the restrooms in the existing building. In the photo to the right, we have wire mold installations occurring in the classrooms. As for other activities, the building committee met on the 10th regarding interior color selections, and we also took a tour through the building. FF&E and technology procurement planning is occurring. In regards to the high schools, Auburn High School and Blacksburg High School, we're in the final stages of punch list completion and commissioning completion. And we are turning over documentation and files to Montgomery County facilities. Thank you.
Are all the shrubs and trees put in place as of now at the two high schools?
Yes, they are. We have some planting that will occur in the spring at what are called the focal points, which are areas where we have drainage in the parking lots going to. There are plantings that go in there later on.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much.
Chief. Thank you.
And that's it.
Back to me, unfinished business by school board members. Anybody have any unfinished business?
I don't know if it's unfinished and I'm getting off the board, but I was very interested in what the two ladies had to say who've been substitute teachers for years in the district, and just wanted to check out to be sure some of what they had to share
Probably new business.
is not being shared. Pardon?
New business.
Oh, I thought this was,
It's new business
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
discussion around here.
sorry.
That's okay. Any other unfinished business by school board members? All right, new business by school board members.
Yeah, I agree with Phyllis. I think we ought to take a look at what's happened, what's transpired with our substitutes at this point, and I'd like to do that down the road, if we could.
Thank you.
Are we giving the superintendent? Is
I
that,
think the board needs to decide whether we want to revisit that.
that's what I was asking?
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
I do.
So do I.
Yeah.
I don't, just because I think we have a policy set in place, and there's many of folks that didn't become a substitute because of what we've set in place, and I think we've got to either change our expectations or stay with what we're doing.
Part of those expectations are mandated by us, by No Child Left
Right.
Behind.
Well, I'm just saying, you can't make exceptions.
Well, we're not making exceptions. The county made the exceptions, the administration made the exceptions when the woman said that she was told that she was grandfathered.
Well, he didn't have the right to do that.
Regardless, he did.
It didn't matter. He didn't have the right to do it.
So
I'd
what's
say
the
the
consensus
authority.
here, folks? What do we want to bring this, what's the direction we want to give the superintendent? I hear some that want to deal with it and some that don't.
I
It's
would vote
policy.
to revisit.
I'm sorry?
I would vote to revisit the
Yeah.
situation, the issue.
You have enough.
Yeah, so,
Three of us.
No.
have to
What was your vote? Because right now it was 3-3.
what I want to have answered, the question answered is, what were these people told?
There's
Is
no
all I'm asking.
record of any
Right.
conversation regarding that. There's no written documentation in anywhere regarding a grandfathering, and your policy, as it is written and recorded, does not indicate that the board intended to do any grandfathering.
And the policy was based on state policy, or we wrote our own?
You wrote your own.
Right.
The state sets a minimum.
Right.
You always have a right to set a higher level policy, and the board chose to do that.
Because it was driven by
No child.
No Child Left Behind, saying that all of our teachers, all of our aides needed to be highly qualified. They were given the opportunity to do that, and folks either did it or they didn't. Now, to my point as to folks knowing that and other folks knowing that it had not occurred and still letting folks work, from what we were told tonight, that's exactly what happened. Because they said they were being personally called and that they weren't going through the automatic list, so everybody knew what was going on. And I don't think that's fair to folks who were not able to continue working in Montgomery County Schools because they did not have the qualifications that met our policy that was driven by No Child Left Behind.
Well, my point is, this is new business, and we're revisiting already, and I don't think that's appropriate. I think we should, there's three of us who want to revisit it, and I think that's enough.
How many of us are here? I think that's 3 that don't. So that's not enough.
Is there a rule that says that a tie doesn't go, it's not revisited?
We're not voting.
Right.
There's not a motion on the table, so you're not voting.
It's just direction.
It's
Yeah,
trying to
correct.
give direction, and right now, you don't have some who want to hear it and some who don't. Okay? We've turned people, we turned people away. We told people that if you didn't have these qualifications, that they could not continue to substitute.
We're revisiting it again. I don't think we should be doing that.
Yeah.
What are we revisiting?
My concern is for people who have been very loyal and good substitutes for us,
I
and
don't
now,
understand what we're
and
revisiting.
today they can't do it anymore.
And we had other
And-
folks who were there too, and they didn't get the qualifications that they need, and they're no longer working for the district anymore either. And I heard from those folks then saying, why can't I? And it was because we set a standard.
And when was that standard set?
The last revision to the policy, as I remember, is 2010, I think. It was,
Let me go back to something that I want to say again. We had a situation that came up a while back where I think two people on this board wanted an issue revisited or visited. And the rest of the board, two people wanted it, it was okay. Now we've got three people who want this revisited, and there seems to be a major discussion. And I think if we've got three people who want it revisited, we should revisit it and not
Exactly.
discuss it now.
If we got 3 who say they don't, then we don't.
But we had two before and four who were
Joe,
non-committal.
unless you can tell me exactly what that was and when it was,
It was when,
I don't
it was
even
when
know.
Mr. Jones wanted to revisit or visit the situation of the attendance. There was two people who wanted that visited, and only two.
You're right about that.
Show me the records.
Well, I just think we need a revisitation, especially regarding people who have been substituting for us and with us for a long time and have done a good job.
Okay, so
I mean,
let's
we wouldn't have let them be if
let's
they
call
weren't
all
doing a
those
good
people-
job.
Let's call all those people who still want to work for Montgomery County Schools but can't because they don't have the same qualifications that these folks don't have. Let's call them all back and tell them we want to revisit your situation too, because that would be the only fair way to do it.
Here is my recommendation, is that we will be on January the 7th. We'll be reaffirming all of our policies and procedures, and we'll have 2 new board members, and we'll be at the end of the meeting under new business or old business, and it can be brought up again at that time with the new board. And we can give direction with the 2 new board members at that time.
Sure.
Is that fair
You
enough?
want to do it?
At this point?
I don't see why we can't do it now.
Any other items of new business? We need to set, we need a motion on the budget date on January the 14th.
So move.
I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion for January 14th budget workshop in 2014? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have a budget workshop date in January 2014 on Tuesday, the 14th. Any other items of new business by school board members? Announcements and information by school board members.
Of course, I have some. I'm really excited about Margaret Beeks because they said if all of their students met their reading requirements, the principal and the guidance counselor would put on a crazy program for them. And they're going to do it this Friday because all the students at Margaret Beeks had met their reading requirements. And I'm really excited. I enjoyed the theater at Christiansburg High School recently, and especially the new seats. Thank you very much. You know, the kids were fantastic. Blacksburg High School had a great choral concert. In the newspaper, Brenda Drake, we have got so much good coverage. The latest, so many go on. And I want to thank Brenda for your awesome relationship with our newspapers. I mean, really, you cover it all from it's the athletics, of course, but the art, the theater, the awards, everything. I really appreciate it. And Brenda, I want to thank you again, because if I'd been you, even after I signed the contract and the roof had fallen, I wouldn't have been here. I want to thank you to the bottom of my heart. and I want to welcome Gunnan out there.
I have an announcement. The group that is the choral group that Christiansburg that won the $20,000 last year, they won it again this year.
Yep.
And they're going to be on K92 in the morning, I think from 8 to 9:30. They're doing an interview and they're singing. So that's $40,000 that's been put into the music program at Christiansburg, just from a few kids. I mean, that's great. It's phenomenal.
And we thank Sheila, too, for that.
Yeah.
Sheila.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Any other?
I just want to thank everybody again for, being so nice while I was on the board. And Mr. Ivers, we had the opportunity to battle yet again tonight and then come back and be on the same page about something totally different. So, yes, thank you for making it a last entertaining meeting. I appreciate that.
You rock.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We're not saying goodbye.
Well, one other thing from announcements and information, I don't know if you noticed in the paper this past week, but I think it's important to call out special people and special individuals. And Clay Jennings, if you read the article, what Clay is doing, collecting Lego blocks. Congratulations to Clay. That's just truly outstanding. He's collecting Lego blocks for the cancer patients program. He was featured this past week in the paper, and and his mother is a teacher within the school system. Janet Jennings is a marketing teacher down at Eastern Montgomery High School. So, I'm sure that Dwayne and Janet are very proud, but congratulations to Clay and his outstanding work.
Yay.
That's truly an amazing thing that he's doing. So with that, if there's no more announcements, Ms. Albritton, I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Ms. Foster, I need a second.
Second.
And with that, board members, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're now adjourned.
Happy
Thank you, board
holidays.
members. And thank you, members of the audience, for sticking it out.